Hi guys, why is there growing support for the UK to rejoin the EU? Well, there are a number of reasons. First, we had the promises from the Leave campaigns, headed by both Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson, that claimed that everything would be fixed if the UK left the European Union. Immigration, which was probably the single biggest issue driving many people to vote out, has in part brought down the Conservative Party and continues to see them struggle. So is Angus, a caller to James O'Brien's show, right to demand another referendum on this issue? Or is the host right to echo someone else who says there shouldn't be any more such votes?
My wife is German, and
Right.
we lived together, married, in Scotland for 10, 15 years, and then Brexit came along, and we didn't have to leave, but my wife who was a social worker, was being treated so badly by many of the clients that she was working with.
So sorry to hear
So, yeah, and she had an elderly
that. We
mother
voted
that
to
we
get
had
we
come
voted
over.
to get rid of people like you.
Well, but since I've come here after Brexit, I have had to go through German courses. I've had to pass certain exams. I'm now here as a resident, and hopefully I can stay here and help care for my elderly mother-in-law. Now, before Brexit, this was not an issue. We could drive back and forward.
Yeah,
we could fly back and forward. We need another referendum. We need another referendum to reset.
Lord! Well, it would give him a mandate, and if he won it, it would give him mandate and freedom that is currently completely absent. But I don't think I could bet. Could you bet? It's all right for you sitting in Germany. I've got Anthony's been in touch. So the one thing he should categorically not do is ever have any referendum again, ever.
Okay, so who do you agree with? Do you agree with Angus, who supports the idea of another referendum, or do you support the position taken by Anthony, who says never have another one? Okay, well, I think we can go, there's a possibility of somewhere in between. But I've said before, the referendum was a bad idea. Not because it failed, but because it was based on a lot of misinformation, and it relied on the public understanding something that they couldn't understand. So I said this before, if you look at referenda in other countries, direct democracy ones or whatever, for example in Switzerland, if there's anything dodgy about a referendum, it will be null and void. The result will be null and void. If there's any sort of tampering or anything like that, and we saw this with the Brexit referendum in 2016, there was influence from outside, there was a lot of dodgy stuff going on, and of course it was based principally on lies. The idea that, leaving the European Union would fix every problem under the sun. Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson were pushing this constantly. And they were saying it would bring down immigration numbers as well. Well, we saw the result of that. So should there be another referendum? No. So what's the alternative? And I've mentioned this before. There should be a vote in Parliament. Parliament should decide. The MPs are paid big salaries. They're able to surround themselves with experts, with a team, to find out what's the right way to vote. There should be a free vote in Parliament, of course, but it should not be once again offloaded onto the public, because the public don't understand the pros and cons. They didn't understand the pros and cons in 2016. They wouldn't understand the pros and cons when it comes to rejoining in whenever that vote takes place in the future, if that vote takes place. So it makes more sense for it to take place in Parliament. Now that would require consensus. There isn't consensus in Parliament, anywhere near consensus at the moment, but you would need the main parties, if that's Labour, the Conservatives. We don't know about the Conservatives at the moment, but we don't know what they'll be like in the future. But there would have to be consensus in Parliament. All the main parties would have to be backing it. There would have to be a very small minority against the idea. Until then, I think any talk of a referendum is just going to create division once again. And it's going to be a case of people like Farage and others jumping on and campaigning against it. Of course, using the tools that's available, more tools available today than there were in 2016, bot farms and misinformation on social media. That's what they would be doing. And, their goal is not to provide the public with, the information they need to make a conscious decision. It would be about manipulation. So we would want to avoid something like that. So that's why I think it's necessary that it's not a referendum, but that it's a vote in Parliament. The politicians would have to make that decision. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.